Hi, how are you doing? My name is James Brockbank. I'm managing director and founder of an agency called Digital Loft over in the UK. And today I want to talk about how we took a brand new site from nothing to over 300,000 monthly organic sessions in just 9 months. The site I'm going to talk to you about is a site that we launched in mid 2021 called the Family Vacation Guide. Family Vacation Guide is a great resource that was planned, launched, and really rolled out to help families in the US market to plan their next family vacation. As I say, we launched this in mid 2021 and we've seen fantastic growth over the last 12, 14 months. And today I want to talk to you exactly how we did that, what worked, what didn't work, and where we focused our efforts to drive growth. And whilst the site that I'm going to be talking about today is predominantly focused on the travel sector, the tactics that I'm going to talk about, the approaches that we took, can very, very much be applied to any B2C or B2B niche. What I want you to take away today is the way we did things, the mindset that we got into, how we approached determining what to do next to drive the growth we saw. But I want to start by answering a question that I very, very commonly get when talking about this site. Often I'm asked, did we build this on an expired domain? Did this site already have links pointing to it? Had this site been sat there aging for some time? No. We registered this domain about 3 weeks before we launched. Our period from deciding we were launching the project to actually going live was a very, very short window, about 4 weeks in total. But I wanted to get that out there, make it clear on the ground that there is nothing skewing the results here. We had a completely fresh start, as if any of us went and registered a brand new domain today. If we then dive deeper into the performance, if we look at July this year, we drove over 364,000 organic sessions to the site. That growth is huge. Considering the previous July, the site wasn't even live. The site hadn't even been, I don't think it had even entered development at this stage. To be doing 364,000 hits a year later is mega, mega growth. I've been doing SEO for 13, 14 years, and in that time, I've only seen growth like this a couple of times. Sit back and ask yourself, though, if you could drive an extra 365,000 hits a month to your site through organic search by this time next year, what would that mean for your business? I'm guessing quite a lot. But to go deeper into the page split, here are the top 10 traffic driving pages, and we can see that the top page by page views accounted for only 3% of the site's overall page views. What we do not have here is 1 or 2 pages skewing the metrics. We have a really nice balance of traffic being earned across the site, which again, really, when we're looking at case studies like this, is absolutely something that we want to see. We need to be able to reveal that we didn't just get lucky on one page, that this was a sustainable growth driving strategy that could be replicated. So if we then break out the performance month by month from August to the end of that first 12-month period, as I say, we hit that sort of 300,000 sessions, organic sessions mark after 9 months. But if we span that out over 12 months, what we see here is that in that first year, we drove just over 2 million organic sessions. This was from over 1.75 million users. Again, really, really nice stats. The growth curve that we see there is almost that perfect growth trajectory. If we then look at how this breaks down from a ranking perspective, we see over 8,000 top 3 keywords, 23,000 in positions 4 to 10, over 30,000 keyword rankings on the first page of Google. And the first thing I want you to take away from today's session is that it doesn't have to take 6 to 12 months to start to see SEO success. You can drive measurable growth, a solid ROI, start to show traction in less than that if you have the right strategy in place. So when I start to compare the performance of this site versus others and start to dive into the data behind keyword rankings, if I take water park resorts in Florida, a great term, one that we rank in that very, very top spot on Google for, you can see we have the lowest domain rating of any of the other first page results on the SERPs. Bar the very bottom result by quite a way. We're quite a way behind on domain rating. So how? Why? What does this mean? Well, ultimately, it means that we earned the right to rank outside of just links alone. Of course, domain rating, domain authority, predominantly link-based metrics. I'll talk how we built this authority. How did we earn this right to rank in top spots after just 12 months? But a few things that we need to consider and that I need to just disclose on this site. This site is completely owned and operated by us as an agency. What this means is that there were no hoops to jump through in terms of client approval. There were, in theory, no budget restraints. We could put the resources into this that we needed to see the growth. As I mentioned before, it was a brand new domain. There was absolutely nothing skewing this from a growth trajectory perspective. There was no brand presence. We were not able to leverage an existing brand, which in many cases often makes things easier. And there was no other marketing carried out. Everything that you hear and see me talking about today was driven as a result of our SEO strategy. There was no other marketing put behind this site. But what I want to first talk about is scalable strategies. And the way that we were able to drive so much growth was by thinking about scale from day one. How could we scale this? How could we drive growth at scale? And ultimately, a scalable strategy is all about being able to answer how can you significantly increase output from a small increase to inputs. Really, what this means is working smarter, not harder. It means finding what works and doubling down. Really, that means not wasting resources and things that aren't having an impact. Once you find something that works, and that something can be one of many different things that I will showcase soon, double down on it, put your resources in the right place. But also you need to make sure you're designing processes that scale. If you're designing processes for the now, you're very, very, very quickly going to find bottlenecks. You're going to trip yourself up. Design processes to scale, design processes that will work when you're doing 5, 10, 20, 50 times the traffic. And perhaps most importantly, know where to prioritize your efforts. Know what to do today to see results tomorrow and what will drive the big, big wins. What I can also say is that content-led search should be compounding. What you should be seeing is that the more great content you produce, the more organic traffic you see. What this means is that every piece of content you create should ultimately contribute to that overall traffic measure, that traffic goal. If content isn't performing, if it isn't driving traffic, then why? Build a strategy that allows everything you put out to perform to the best of its ability. And it's then important that I talk about topical authority. Now, topical authority has some way become a bit of a buzzword over the past 1 to 2 years. But ultimately, to me, topical authority, it's something that's hypothetical. We can't go and measure topical authority. Whilst we can debate measures and metrics such as domain authority, domain rating, there is a measure, there is a numerical value behind them. We have no measure for topical authority, but it's still a really important concept to understand. So what is it? Topical authority is all about being the expert. It's about positioning a site so that in many ways algorithms and users alike can understand that this site is an expert in this space, in this niche. It's about earning the right to rank because you're seen as that expert. Really, it's about saying, okay, Google, you've got two options. You've got that site or this site. Ultimately, Google wants to rank the one that is the better result, the better match, the expert that you can absolutely trust for the best recommendations, the best products, the best advice. And thankfully, we are now a long, long way from the days of writing a single page of content on a topic and expecting to rank. Topical authority is about demonstrating that you know a topic inside out. Ultimately, that you are that expert. So what that means is that a site needs to comprehensively talk about a topic. You need to be creating multiple pieces of content. You need to have great topical coverage. Really, again, it comes back to demonstrating that you are that expert, that you can be trusted, that you have the authority, the expertise, and that your recommendations can be relied on because you can demonstrate you know this sector inside out. But breaking it down a little more to things that SEOs understand, on-page relevancy, we have off-page relevancy. Combine those and we can start to get a bit of an understanding on what topical authority is. What are they? Well, it's content and links. On-page relevancy comes from great content. Off-page relevancy comes from great, relevant, authoritative links. These are in many ways the two key areas that combine to build topical authority. But why should you care about this? Why is this something that, whilst hypothetical and a bit of an imaginary metric, why should we care about it? Because when we focus on this, you can forget about keyword difficulty. As I've already shown, when you earn that right to rank, you can almost forget about and ignore what the keyword difficulty of any particular keyword is and really stop worrying about who you're competing against. In turn, this means you can stop feeling intimidated by higher domain authority or domain rating sites. All too often, I have conversations with prospects, with clients, and they'll say, we'll never rank for that. Our domain authority is lower. Our domain rating is lower. Put some context in. When you build topical authority, there are other routes to rank rather than just focusing solely on link-based metrics. You can rank new content faster and do so with fewer links. When you've built up topical authority for any particular topic, it is not uncommon to be able to publish a piece of content and rank very, very quickly, often days, for sometimes competitive keywords. And it means you can own the search for topics, not just single keywords. We are now, hopefully many, many years past the focus on a hit list of 10 keywords. We see hundreds, if not thousands, of variations. And when you think about topical authority, you're owning the SERPs at topic level, not just keyword level. And topical authority as a marketer can drive a real competitive advantage. But you have to start thinking, what really is it? What does it mean? And how can we contribute to building this so-called topical authority? And it starts by really going in with that mindset of creating content that deserves to rank at the top of the SERPs. Is your content really good enough to rank? Is it better than what's already there? I say there as in ranking at the top of the SERPs. If it's not, then that's where you need to start. So to get into some of the more details on exactly what drove growth for us, how we achieved this growth from 0 to 300,000 organic sessions in less than 9 months, our key growth drivers were these. keyword research, publishing velocity, money versus supporting content, on-page SEO, internal linking, and link acquisition with digital PR. Those 6 things are the main things that we focused on over the first 12 months of this site's existence. But on the flip of that, what didn't we focus on? We didn't focus on site speed. I could not tell you the speed of this site. Why? Not because I don't believe it matters, but because we had higher priorities. Same with Core Web Vitals, same with structured data. Yes, I'm not saying these are things that should be ignored, that should be overlooked, not at all. But from where we were and where we wanted to be, we had higher priority actions, tasks to be doing than fixing Core Web Vitals. So I want to talk you now for each of these key areas and help you to see exactly how we approached each and exactly what we did. So starting with keyword research, we went into the keyword research phase with really that asking this question on what do families want to know when planning a vacation. When you understand what somebody's looking for, you can start to identify keyword opportunities. You can start to understand what full topical coverage looks like. In our case, it means aligning around a goal. Aligning keyword research to ultimately what you want to achieve. Our goal? To launch the best guide on the web for families planning a vacation. This then broke down into 4 key buckets, which allowed us to dive deeper into these with keyword research. Families want to know where to go. They want to know where to stay. They want recommendations on what to do and where to eat. I'm not saying that every single piece of content we launched fit nicely into these, but the majority of the topics, the majority of the trends can be pinned back to these. So when starting our keyword research, we could start exploring for various destinations, countries, states. What do we search for? What are our seed keywords to start that keyword research phase? What I want you to take away is that your site's blog content should be keyword driven. Still, as we come to the end of 2022, I see blog content being published that has no clear focus. It's not driven around keywords. It's not news content. So what is it? Honestly, that sort of content is somebody almost doing that finger in the air moment and going, what should I write about today? Use data, use keyword data to drive a blog strategy. That's how you can drive traffic from the SERPs to the content you're creating. But as you go through keyword research, keep an eye out for trends. We started to see trends in the keywords that we were discovering. And then we could group this to things like family resorts in, location, family hotels in, things to do with kids in, attraction in, location versus location, location being the variable. What we could do here is take our list of keyword frameworks, drop in different locations, get the search volume data, and really, really quickly build a targeted keyword list. What we had here was the result of us working smarter, not harder. What we also did is, before we even create a single piece of content, we planned just over 1,000 pieces of content. We knew where we were going. We knew what we had to do, really, to see us getting anywhere close to the goals that we put in place. Planning 1,000 pieces of content might seem like a big feat, but ultimately what it meant is if we needed to accelerate the strategy, slow the strategy down, switch things up, we already had a plan in place of how we were going to drive the traffic we needed to drive. So then building this out to topic clustering. I'm a big believer that topic clustering is incredibly important in driving growth, certainly in competitive sectors. If you're not familiar with this concept, something that was pioneered a couple of years ago, probably more than a couple of years ago now, by HubSpot, which its basis around pillar pages and cluster pages. Ultimately, your pillar page is your broad topic, your broad keyword, and your cluster content is that supporting content going deeper into the topic. For us, we took the decision to build out topic clusters around destinations. The US is our key market right now, so we were clustering at state level. So what does that mean? Well, it means our topic cluster of Florida, as an example, is containing as much relevant content as we can for our audience around the key topic. So Florida as a whole, it's a broad topic, but really we're looking at family vacations in Florida. So we've got things like Universal Studios versus Disney World, the best all-inclusive family resorts in Florida, how to get from Orlando to Daytona Beach, the best water parks in Florida. You can start to see how different content sits below our main pillar, which in this case was Florida. To build out your topic clusters then, set a micro goal. Whilst our main goal for the site was to launch the best guide on the web for families planning a vacation, our goal for the topic cluster of Florida was to launch the best guide on the web for planning a family vacation in Florida. It's stepping down a level and it's making those goals a little more achievable. Building the ultimate guide, the ultimate resource for families planning a vacation at a national or international level, that's going to take years. We can't achieve that quickly. But by focusing on a key area of launching the best guide on the web for families planning a vacation in Florida, that's far more manageable. And to date, 22% of the content that we've published on the site sits within the Florida cluster. So what does the growth look like? Month-on-month growth. Right now, Florida is our biggest driver of traffic, at least in terms of a destination and the keyword groupings. But you can't stop there. We focused, we tested, we learned, and then we doubled down to scale. After we had not complete, but really great topic coverage on Florida, we covered a lot of the main keyword areas and subtopics we needed to. We moved on to the Caribbean. You can see that growth is shifted a few months to the side. We didn't start publishing in the Caribbean topic cluster until 2 or 3 months after the Florida cluster. We're still seeing growth. Yes, that growth is nowhere near in terms of the top traffic driving level as we see on Florida, but we haven't published as much content. We didn't start at the same time, but that trajectory follows. We found something that worked, we doubled down, we scaled, we repeat. It's all about breaking a topic into smaller topics and going harder than one by one. We could have gone, let's just focus on the US. The US is a huge place. We took a state-by-state approach. We focused on one at a time to really build that topical coverage. Then we get to this conversation of money versus supporting content. And when we talk about this, we have to understand the purpose of different types of content within our strategy. If you want to rank, you need to understand both intent and topic depth. These are two things that you can't overlook if you want to drive success. We can take any keyword, any piece of content, and we can roughly group it into one of 4 different buckets: navigational, informational, commercial, investigation, or transactional type keywords. We can drop content into the same bucket. By understanding where different types of content, where different types of keywords fit, we can really start to understand what do we need to be creating, what do we need to be publishing to stand a chance of ranking. In many cases, we loosely group these into money or supporting content. Too many SEOs focus just on money content, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. You need to create the content that searchers want to find and that search engines want to rank. That is intent. Intent is about matching the expectation of what somebody wants to see when they run that search. And what you see here are the SERPs on 2 keywords. On the left, we see the SERP results for all-inclusive resorts in Cancun. What we see here is almost all booking sites: TripAdvisor, TUI, Love Holidays, sites where you can book an all-inclusive resort in Cancun. Add one word to the search query, best all-inclusive resorts in Cancun, and we see a very, very different picture. They are all editorial roundups and recommendations. You can't book the resorts on those sites. They're editorial recommendations. All we did was change one word. We added best. That changed the intent of the query. Make sure you're doing this. Understand actually what that intent is of the queries, of the content that you're utilizing as part of your strategy. But you can't overlook supporting content. Now, I often talk about supporting content as being either the very long tail or informational. It's not the content that's going to drive you the bulk of your revenue, but it can absolutely bring traffic into the funnel. It can raise awareness. It can bring in traffic that a lot of that can convert a little further down the line. But the thing is that you can't rank those money pages without this supporting content. So don't underestimate the value of it. Don't skimp on informational content. Understand the importance and where it sits within your strategy. And to do a quick bit of myth busting, supporting content does not and should not mean lower quality content. Supporting content is about building that topic, driving traffic right across the funnel and demonstrating that you know this niche, this topic inside out. The quality of your supporting content should be the same as on any money page, any category page, any service page. Don't focus on low quality just because it's classed as supporting content. I then want to talk about accelerated publishing velocity. I'm not going to lie, we've published a hell of a lot of content on this site. But actually, publishing velocity, the rate at which you publish content, is one of the only things that you're in total control of as a site owner, as an operator, as a marketer. If you see here, across the first 12 months of the site's life, we were publishing an average of 80 pieces of content per month. By the end of the first year, we had published just under 1,000 pieces of content. Yes, this was a task. This wasn't easy. It took investment, it took resources. But maintaining that consistent publishing schedule meant that we were able to increase the velocity of which we were earning rankings, which of course in turn into traffic. And if we look over the start of the site's growth, we had a consistent publishing schedule, publishing over 200,000 words in many cases each month. There was a lot going into this site, but the results have been delivered. And in the 13, 14 years I've been working in SEO, I've yet to find a business who won't invest if they're seeing a return on it. It's just about demonstrating what you put in, what will that bring out? But don't think you can go in with subpar content, with thin content. It's not just about having those pages live. You have to cover those individual topics in enough depth. Our average post length is just short of 2,500 words. This is a lot of content both at page level and at domain level. But what we know is that the more good content you publish, the more organic traffic you'll drive. But I use the term good because published is better than perfect. All too often, I see content sat in an approval queue. It might be sat in WordPress waiting for someone to put it live. It might be sat there as a draft. It might be in someone's inbox as a Google Doc waiting to have that stamp of approval. Often, the smallest things take the longest to get approved. Sometimes you might be waiting for a new image. You might be waiting for a custom image. You might be waiting for someone to sign off the final tone of voice. Hit publish today if there's any way you can do so. You will thank yourself later. The sooner you publish, the sooner you can see traction from that. See the traffic, see the revenue. Now, again, I'm not talking about skimping on quality. Get that content to a point where it's good enough to publish. If it gets traffic, it represents your brand. It's factually correct. There's no spelling and grammar errors. But content that's sat in draft, sat in an approval queue, is not working for your site. You're not going to see any growth on that until it's published. So then internal linking, one of my favorite tactics for driving quick win growth. It's a tactic that never fails to reveal and to drive quick wins. And it's also one of the easiest things to implement. An example here of the impact that we've seen from internal linking, you can see here that we spent a bit of time adding internal links from other posts to our roundup of the best places for ziplining in California. It is no surprise, given that we did absolutely nothing else that could have impacted those rankings, to see the ranking jump from position 22 to position 2 on Google. The only thing we did was we significantly improved internal linking. That's the sort of power that internal linking can have on organic growth. But what did Google say? Well, we have to remember that internal linking is about more than just passing PageRank. Internal linking helps us to get a bit of context about a specific page. That's done through anchor text, says Google's John Mueller. It also gives some understanding as to how pages are connected. Yes, internal linking passes PageRank, internal linking passes link authority, but it also passes content. It demonstrates the contextual connection between two or more pages. And on the Family Vacation Guide, we took a number of different approaches to internal linking. We have breadcrumbs right across the site. Now, that should never, in my opinion, be the only way you're internally linking up topic clusters as an example, but they should absolutely be there. It's somewhat of a signal. But because of that, we also make sure that quite high up a post, we're linking back to our parent category, our pillar page. In this instance, the Florida page. Why? Well, if we then go back to understanding the concept of internal linking, we're passing PageRank and we're passing context. Linking up to the, in this case, a category page for Florida with kids, our pillar page, we're passing PageRank into the main category that then gets dispersed to the newest pages, the newest pieces of content in this category. Ultimately, this helps us to get ranked faster. But what we're also doing is demonstrating that connection. We're demonstrating that parent-child relationship between the two pieces of content. But that's not all we do. We make sure we have in-content contextual internal linking as well. As you can see here on a post about planning a trip to Disneyland, we're linking through to guides on do you have to be vaccinated to go to Disneyland, California? We're linking to relevant content that sits alongside this to demonstrate that contextual connection. But we also go beyond that and we think about users. If we're making recommendations on the best all-inclusive resorts in X, Y, or Z, some of that audience is ultimately not going to have chosen their destination right now. So what we also do is we also showcase relevant content for the same type of vacation in other destinations. And then we come on to the fun part, link acquisition with digital PR. I'm a big believer that PR links are almost the holy grail. It allows you to scale relevant authority links. And what we did differently for this that we very rarely get to do is we started digital PR activity the week the site launched. Often sites go through that process of starting to build up content, refine internal linking, refine the on-page SEO. We hit go on digital PR activity from day one. And to date, we've earned links from Time Out, Travel and Leisure, Matador Network, Miami Herald, TripSavvy, HuffPost. You name it, we've targeted it. But we targeted it in a very strategic way, as you'll now see. And we did that through promoting content, through promoting the site's experts in the travel space, positioning us as experts and earning relevant links through things such as data studies, expert insights and comments, reactive newsjacking, responding to what's going on that journalists are talking about. And the first example here was a pretty simple and effective data study. We rounded up 20 of the best US cities to visit with kids based on a number of metrics and factors. What we were doing here is we were using data to determine the recommendations. We earned links from Time Out. That was the first link we earned to the site. Time Out, being the first domain to link to a travel site, is a huge quality signal. Tampa Bay Business Journal, Miami.com. It's perhaps no surprise that we've seen great growth in Florida, given that we aligned our link acquisition by digital PR efforts with that. We wanted relevancy. Miami Herald, Miami.com, linking through to our content in our Florida cluster is a huge signal of relevancy. Second example, as we got to the winter season last year, rounding up 25 of the best ski resorts for families in the US. Another data-driven study, data-driven campaign. Earning links from Mental Floss within relevant content. We're being linked to from within content that recommends the best family-friendly ski resorts as a resource for that. Travel Daily, again, round of the best ski resorts in the US, covering our campaign, our data, our research. Out there, Colorado, again, helping us to build relevancy at a local level, which, of course, for a site like this is very, very important. This activity was all about getting the press talking about us as family travel experts. And as we can see, we absolutely achieved that. But that's not the only way we were able to earn links. So the informational content that we've been consistently putting out started to earn links on autopilot. By ranking, by us mentioning places, resorts, hotels, things to do, we're naturally earning links. An example here is from a local travel site for a destination. We've had hotel groups linking through, sharing our content on their hotel group site. Great links. These are really money couldn't buy links, and we're not even outreaching for them. We're just creating great content, we're putting it out, and they're seeing that they're featured. But perhaps the other thing is that very quickly, we were able to add a as seen in banner to the site. From a trust factor, this is huge. We can showcase that our experts have been featured in some of the most authoritative publications online. The last thing that I want to talk about that helped us to drive this growth is that we never stopped. We analyze and we optimize. You are not finished with a piece of content once you hit publish. You could even argue that the hard work has only just begun. Nobody gets everything right. No tool can give you all of the data you need. And it's important that you continue to run what I call a monthly opportunity analysis to discover things like the keyword ranking in the bottom half of page 1. These are your quick wins. You can usually push these into higher positions with internal linking improvements by better optimizing the content based around the data you see for your content in Search Console. Adding more supporting content, finding ideas for this from the content that's already performing. As I mentioned, Search Console is a great tool. You don't need anything else to do this. We have the data to see what queries are driving traffic, driving impressions, the click-through rate, and essentially how we are performing from the average position. This is a great way to find our quick wins and a great use of time each month. It's all about knowing where to focus your efforts to get the biggest wins. That's how you scale quickly. But in many cases, if you go back to your boss, if you go back to your board and say, hey, I'm going to double or triple our content investment, you're going to get asked the question on how do we measure the ROI? What's the baseline? Where are we getting this from? Simple way that you can do that is to start to pull out what's your value per session. I will usually do this over at least a 6-month average. And what's your value per post? What revenue is driven per session per month? In our case, that was £1.23 in revenue per session on average. And revenue per post, every single post we have drives an average of £256.78 per month. What we can then say is if we go and invest in another 100 posts, we can expect that to add. Yes, there will be a delay. I usually put a time delay of 3 to 6 months on these returns here. Extra 100 posts could drive us £25,000 in revenue. An extra 50,000 monthly sessions could drive us an extra 61,000. Put the data in to get decisions out. So the key takeaways then that I really want you to take away today are as follows. I want you to really go and think about what's driving growth right now. And the first one of those is building topical authority. Focus your efforts on building topical authority as the best resource on the web, the best result to answer a searcher's query. And then double down on velocity. The more good content you publish, the better returns you're going to see. You cannot rank for a query until you have content that aligns to this. The more content you publish, the faster you will see growth. Use a strategically planned well-thought-out site structure that utilizes smart internal linking. Think about demonstrating that topical connection between two pieces of content, not just as a way to pass link authority. And then focus your efforts on earning authority-relevant links that help to build your brand. We know Google wants to build brands, so focus your efforts on this. Thank you very much. That's everything from me. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you very much.